He lived like any ordinary man, worked, smiled, grew old. But behind those calm eyes was a buried truth, a trail of death stretching across decades. For 45 years he walked among us, a ghost in plain sight, his dark secrets hidden beneath a veneer of normalcy. The murders were brutal, each one more horrific than the last. Young women vanished without a trace, their families left to wonder and grieve. The police searched, following every lead. But the killer was always one step ahead. As the years passed, hope faded. The case went cold, but he never stopped watching. He blended into the fabric of society, a face in the crowd, unremarkable and forgettable. But beneath that facade, a predator lurked, patient and calculating. He attended neighborhood barbecues, waved to his neighbors, and went about his daily routine. All the while, he carried the weight of his crimes, a burden that would have crushed a lesser man. The victims' families never gave up hope. They clung to the belief that one day, justice would prevail. They couldn't have known that the man responsible for their pain was living just a few streets away, going about his life as if nothing had happened. Decades passed. Technology advanced. Cold cases were reopened, and evidence was re-examined with fresh eyes and new techniques. And then, a breakthrough. One forgotten piece of evidence, overlooked for years, suddenly held the key to unraveling the mystery. A single hair, preserved in an evidence bag for nearly half a century, yielded its secrets to modern DNA analysis. The results sent shockwaves through the law enforcement community. After 45 years of silence, the killer finally had a name. The arrest was swift and unexpected. Neighbors watched in disbelief as police cars swarmed the quiet suburban street. The man they had known for years, the one who always had a friendly wave and a kind word, was led away in handcuffs. In the interrogation room, he sat calmly, his weathered hands folded on the table before him. The detectives presented their evidence piece by damning piece. And as the full weight of his crimes was laid bare, something unexpected happened. He didn't cry. He didn't beg. He smiled. It was a cold, hollow smile that sent chills down the spines of even the most hardened investigators. It was the smile of a man who had played a long game and accepted that it had finally come to an end. In that moment, the mask of normalcy slipped away, revealing the monster that had always lurked beneath. The courtroom fell silent as he was led in, shackled and dressed in prison orange. Families of the victims stared in disbelief, finally face to face with the man who had caused them so much pain. Some wept silently, others clenched their fists in anger. But him. He simply looked ahead, his expression blank and unreadable. As the charges were read, a litany of horrors spanning nearly half a century, he showed no emotion. No remorse, no guilt. It was as if he were listening to a story about someone else, detached and unaffected by the weight of his actions. The prosecution presented their case, meticulously laying out the evidence that had finally brought him to justice. DNA matches, long-buried clues, and the relentless work of investigators who had refused to let the case die. With each revelation, the true scope of his crimes became clear. Witness after witness took the stand, recounting the lives that had been shattered by his actions. Parents spoke of daughters who never came home, of birthdays and holidays marked by an empty chair at the table. Friends remembered the vibrant young women who had been taken too soon, their potential snuffed out by a killer's hand. Through it all, he remained impassive, his eyes fixed on some distant point. It was as if he were watching a movie play out before him, disconnected from the reality of what he had done. As the trial progressed, a picture emerged of a man who had lived a double life for decades. To the outside world, he was a model citizen, hardworking, friendly, and unremarkable. But behind closed doors, he indulged in dark fantasies that eventually spilled over into the real world. Psychologists attempted to unravel the mystery of his mind, to understand what could drive a person to commit such heinous acts. But in the end, their explanations felt hollow in the face of such calculated evil. The defense tried to paint a picture of a troubled man, a victim of circumstance and mental illness. But their arguments fell flat in the face of the overwhelming evidence and the sheer brutality of his crimes. As the trial drew to a close, the families of the victims were given a chance to speak. One by one, they stood before the court, pouring out their grief and anger. They spoke of lives cut short, of dreams unfulfilled, and of the endless pain that had become their constant companion. And still, he showed no emotion. No flicker of regret crossed his face. He sat there, as he had throughout the trial, a statue carved from ice and indifference. The verdict, when it came, was a foregone conclusion. Guilty on all counts. The judge's voice rang out in the hushed courtroom, pronouncing a sentence that would ensure he would never again walk free. As he was led away, he turned to face the courtroom one last time, and there it was again, that cold, hollow smile, a final reminder that evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it looks like your neighbor, the man you've known for years, the one you'd trust to water your plants or watch your dog. In the end, justice had prevailed, but at a terrible cost. Lives had been lost, families shattered, and a community forever changed. The case served as a chilling reminder that darkness can hide in the most unexpected places. He had waited 45 years, thinking he had gotten away with his crimes. But justice had waited longer, biding its time until the moment was right to strike. In the end, the truth could not be buried, no matter how deep he had tried to hide it. As the prison doors closed behind him, sealing him away from the world he had terrorized for so long, a chapter in a long and terrible story came to an end. But for the families of his victims, the pain would never truly fade. They were left to grapple with the knowledge that evil had walked among them, hidden behind a mask of normalcy. The case would be studied for years to come, a cautionary tale of the darkness that can lurk within the human heart. It served as a reminder to remain vigilant, to look beyond the surface, and to never give up the pursuit of justice, no matter how long it might take. In the end, he lived like any ordinary man, worked, smiled, grew old. But behind those calm eyes was a buried truth, a trail of death stretching across decades. When the moment came, when justice finally knocked, he didn't cry, he didn't beg, he smiled, a cold, hollow smile, as if the game was over and he had accepted the end. For 45 years he remained a ghost in plain sight, until one forgotten piece of evidence dragged him back into the light. The courtroom fell silent. Families of the victims stared in disbelief. And him? He simply looked ahead, like it was all inevitable. This is the face of a killer who knew how to wait.